Most e-commerce brands are scaling their Google Ads campaigns the wrong way, and this is completely destroying their chances of scale. So in this video, I'm gonna be showing you not one, but 7 different ways of scaling your e-commerce brand in 2023 and onwards with Google Ads, many of which I have never even talked about before. The first strategy, which I like to call the horizontal scaling strategy, is one of my most favorite ones yet. And the way it works is fairly simple. To illustrate it, I've gone inside this ad account here where it's under my Google Ads agency or marketing, and we're currently in the process of implementing horizontal scaling. But one thing you will see with this account is there's a whole bunch of campaigns running at this moment, specifically 13 different campaigns. And the way it works is once you have, for example, a winning shopping campaign where this major Performance Max campaign, which was for the best sellers within this brand, once it was working fairly well, we decided to launch more and more products where it was targeting more of the collections within this brand or more of the individual products within this brand instead of just focusing everything inside this one major campaign. And that's because we did not want to risk having a lot of fluctuations within this brand by putting all of our eggs in one basket. Essentially, that would have meant that we would have had to put all of the products in here and we would have had to massively increase the budget here, which I just didn't think was ideal for this brand. If we had a little bit of a filter in here, we just type in campaign type to see how many different Performance Max campaigns we have running at the moment. We can see that in total, there is roughly 6 different Performance Max campaigns running, although this store only has about 10 to 20 products. Once we find one winning Performance Max approach or one winning collection or product, we now take the other ones and launch them in their own separate campaigns, and we scale the account that way. This was just for Performance Max. You do the same exact thing for search campaigns as well as the other campaign types. So once we found a general approach which was working for the search campaign, which was essentially this campaign right here, we decided to launch more kind of search campaigns around different genders, because this store, it can relate individually to each gender. We were also targeting now different countries as well. We also kind of separated out this approach into the different campaign types there were, such as display campaigns, discovery campaigns, and even now we're looking to expand into YouTube campaigns. If we now look at the last 30 days worth of data, we can see it spent roughly $58,000 to make back $275,000 almost in revenue. That's a 4.68x ROAS. This directly brings us to strategy number 2 for scaling, which is called vertical scaling. Now, vertical scaling is the opposite of horizontal scaling, where instead of just launching a bunch of different campaign types, you rather narrow your focus on a select few campaigns and then scale that way. And there's no other good example than this brand right here. We've been running this ads for this brand for the past 30 days or so, but as you can see here, we have one major Performance Max campaign with all of the products targeting both cold traffic as well as retargeting, because a PMax naturally does retargeting too. We have a second PMax campaign which is only targeting new customers. This was one little special request from the CEO here where he wanted us to essentially only go after cold traffic. So that's why we launched this one. It's running at an even better return on ad spend than campaign number 1. The third campaign is for all of the products which we had excluded from the original major campaign right here, as well as the second one. And then this fourth one, which is something we just recently launched as a test for an individual collection, but so far it does seem to be doing fairly well. And then this standard shopping campaign right here, it's a catch-all campaign, essentially where we have it running at a very low bid, and its main job is to just catch any of the lost potential sales. That's it. Instead of distributing the budget across 5, 10, 20 different campaigns, we now are able to put a majority of their budget, which is only around $1,000 to $1,200 a day, and segregate it only into 3 to 4 different campaigns. So as a result, we're able to really kind of hone in on exactly where we want to spend majority of our ad budget, but also we're now able to gradually start scaling into more campaign types and slowly incorporate horizontal scaling as well, because these scaling strategies, it's not about just using each one individually, but rather combining all of these and finding more scale and more results that way. This directly now brings us to strategy number 3, which is the average order value based scaling. Now, this brand right here, which is actually struggling to get consistent sales, is the perfect example of this. So what I want to do is I want to compare the last 30 days to the previous 30-day period and show you one thing, which is this average order value column. Overall, this brand is fairly inconsistent in terms of revenue revenue simply because this brand relies heavily on search campaigns, and this is not a brand which we have started working with just yet. We are still in the process of potentially working with this brand. This is one reason why they came to us, because of the inconsistencies. But one thing I did like is they're putting a heavy focus on the average order value, and as you can see, the average order value had a total increase of 70% within this last 30-day period. So even though there was barely any type of inconsistency, and overall the number of conversions that they got, it was actually lower than what they had got in the past few days, in the past few months. Overall, they were able to come out much more profitable in terms of the revenue, and their ROAS was also increased by 120%, simply because they focus on the average order value, and they focus on putting their products with the highest price towards the front and running ads for those kinds of products specifically. And that's where this little bump in sale came. I mean, on September 12th, this brand got a $14,000 sale, and that's from one order alone. This is an example where there's an outlier of a sale, because you don't get $14,000 sales too often. However, this goes to show you the importance of focusing on average order value. I mean, if you just kind of disregard the September 12th sale and look at this brand from September 13th until yesterday, which is October 3rd, we can see overall the ROAS and everything, it's still on the lower end. It's not too great. There are a few big sales, but just that day alone of $14,000 in revenue really kind of boosted this brand to the next level. And to incorporate this approach, it's fairly simple. You need to just start by either increasing the product prices of the products you already have, or incorporating better upsells or downsells to really boost up that average order value mark from whatever you currently have. This brings us now to strategy number 4, which is called the ad group or the assets based scaling. And so many e-commerce brands out there, they're heavily focused on having the best possible campaign approach, or they're heavily focused on having a lot of campaigns. But what they don't realize is that the individual campaigns which they have running, it could be a Performance Max campaign, they don't realize that you can actually go inside your Performance Max and launch a variety of external things to boost start your results and to really push it to the next level. And there's no better example than this brand right here. I mean, if we look on a campaign level, there's only 3 different campaigns running. But what we will see now and how this brand was starting to gain a level of scale is through the asset group section. If we look at the asset group section, there's a total of 8 different asset groups running here. And the reason why we do this, where there's no assets in here, no signals at all, we're just letting this go towards cold traffic, is because we want to see where the scale is coming from in terms of the different collections. And the way we have laid out the asset groups here is we have divided them out in terms of different collections within this brand. It is a fashion brand. Once we lay it out this way, what happens is now we're able to see on an individual level which asset group is bringing in majority of the results. Like for example, if we look at the last 30 days, we can see that asset group number 1, it has been running at a 1.15x ROAS. This third asset group is running at a 2.39x ROAS. This one is running at a 5x ROAS. This one at a 3x ROAS. So this is a beautiful way to scale, because now instead of having a bunch of different kind of fancy strategies, we have jam-packed everything inside of one campaign and increased the budget drastically there so that it's able to focus and really start getting higher levels of scale in that manner. This brings us to the final strategy on the list, which is the conversion rate based scaling approach. Now, there is no more of an important thing when it comes to scale than conversion rate. This brand right here is a perfect example of the conversion rate based scaling approach, where if we look in the last 30 days, this brand has actually had a 14% decrease in its conversion rates. However, if we now look at a last 14-day level, we can see that the conversion rate in total, it has been around a 15% despite the decreases. That in the last 7 days, this conversion rate actually has been around 15% as well. So despite really having the conversion rate drop from its previous percentage, which only happened because we actually started heavily scaling this brand, it's still able to run at a 4.61x ROAS. And this brand is in the aggressive scaling phase, because if we look at the total ad spend in the last 30 days, it has spent $58,000 and made back $274,000 in revenue at a 4.68x ROAS. And that's because this conversion rate is able to really carry this brand forward. So despite having a cost per link click of over $2, Because this brand has really invested heavily into A/B testing for the landing page, it's using a custom single standalone landing page. The conversion rate is through the roof. This is an accurate conversion rate for this brand. And because of that, we're able to really aggressively scale to the next level, maintain the overall profitability, maintain the overall revenue. This is how conversion rate optimization and conversion rate scaling works, which, by the way, a lot of our e-commerce brands we're handling under my Google Ads agency are currently doing, which if you're currently doing $40,000 or more per month in revenue, you need just a little bit of extra help scaling your brand to the next level. Go onto my website at yourmarketing.com and schedule a free call with me to see how we can potentially work together and make that happen. But be sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel if this is one of the first times you're watching this video, and go ahead and watch this video right here. You can click on it to see the top 5 best performance max strategies in 2023, which I recommend you highly use right now.